Hello, Mr. Allen. I have made the models you asked for. This first row of models, which are mostly mountains, are for the Glacial Plains. This second row of models are for the Deltaic Plains. I'm going to be explaining both of them, but let's start with the Glacial Plains. Now, what is a Glacial Plains? They are plains that were formed by glaciers falling down on them. Now, there are different types of glaciers. I'm going to be showing you the Alpine Glacier first. They are glaciers that can form on hollows of a mountain where snow collects and accumulates, gradually forming into a glacier. Now I use these white blocks to represent the snow and ice, and I use these brown blocks to represent the snow and the mountain, just the mountain. Now then, the glacier is so big that it puts a lot of pressure onto its bottom, which is called its soul. So much pressure, in fact, that it melts and liquefies. But since it's so cold, it refreezes. This is called freeze-thaw weathering. And since it liquefies, it makes the glacier slowly slip down the mountain. These blue blocks are used to represent the soul of the mountain. And that's not the only thing that happens as it slips down. It also picks up pieces of the mountain with it and keeps it with it until it goes to the very bottom of the mountain. Oh, right. This is the label I have for the soul. Now let's move on to the next part. Meltwater. So now, as the glacier falls down to the bottom, it liquefies and turns into meltwater and also deposits all of the pieces of the mountain it collected. The red blocks are used to represent the pieces of the mountain that the glacier carried along with it and is now depositing into the land. Here, the water obviously represents the water, and these red blocks represent missing pieces of the mountain. However, in places where summer never comes or it's cold long enough, they can cause glacial striations across these mountains. Or if they're big enough, like this continental glacier, they can create U-shaped valleys across these two mountains instead of V-shaped valleys as they used to look before. Now for the Deltaic Plains. Okay, so this margin represents the divide between the river and the ocean. This is the river. This is the ocean. Well, it's where the ocean begins and it's also the mouth of the river. And these are Deltaic Plains, which are at the mouth of the river. Okay. Now, Deltaic Plains are the plains that are formed at the mouth of the river. But how are they formed? I'll explain that using this. So these blue blocks represent the water, these brown blocks represent the sediments, and this black block represents the boundaries between this one and this one. Okay. And this pink margin again represents the divide between the river and the ocean. Now let's start actually explaining how the deltaic plains are formed. So, the river carries along with it sediments and deposits them to the seafloor. And if the ocean is calm enough, they can collect on the seafloor and keep getting bigger and bigger, eventually forming a deltaic plain. And they can just keep growing and growing and growing. And those are deltaic plains. Thank you for your time. Wait a second. And goodbye.